And so Guest says, it makes this little statement, which is this idea that in the United States, and I would say elsewhere, somebody mentioned the word assimilation, tensions over which model should become dominant in the US, ethnicity story, assimilation or multiculturalism, are constantly rising to the surface. So assimilation is the melting pot, that we can melt people into one identity. Multiculturalism is the idea that people can be a part of a nation, but still maintain different cultural identities. Now, I would say that, or I have thought about this as one of the biggest understatements of the textbook. It's buried in there, but this is certainly a huge tension. Are we going to assimilate people, or are we going to let people be multicultural? As I was thinking about this, we have to make this even bigger for today's world. What is today's tension about immigrants? Is today's tension whether we should assimilate immigrants or let them be multicultural? Is that what we're talking about? No, I feel like that's not really the main tension when it comes to immigration anymore. What is the main tension right now?
Should we kick them out?
Should we kick them out or not? Should we kick them out fast or slow is basically the main tension. I cannot even believe that, honestly, I can't understand it. There is the candidates of one political party. For example, Trump just said that he would cancel legal status for Haitians. The idea that you could be legally have protected status, and then that's going to be canceled, and you're going to be deported to somewhere that you may have never been. It's pretty wild. And so these are the kinds of signs and T-shirts that were being held up. For those of you who might have watched the vice presidential debate, they kept asking, what's his name?
J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance. They kept asking him, does this mean that you are going to deport people who are undocumented, whose children are citizens? He didn't answer, but it does mean that. Exactly. The thing is, by mass deportation, they mean upwards of 10 million people. Vance said that there's 20 or 30, but that's bullshit. There's not that many, but 10 million is still a lot of people. And you'd have to use the military. You'd have to use the local, you'd have to use everybody. You'd have to have concentration camps, basically. And you'd have kids who are citizens whose parents would be deported. It's wild. What's also wild to me is this is what I grew up with. I was Republican back in the day, but at least I had this. You know, I grew up like that. I love Ronald Reagan. Who said this? Don't tell me it was Jesus. It was Jesus. This is Jesus. They asked Jesus who would be going to heaven. And Jesus said that when it got to heaven, when it got time to go to heaven, the people who were going to be led into heaven, he said, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. And apparently the righteous said back to him, they said, when did we ever do that to you? We never saw you. And Jesus said, when you did this to the least of my brethren, you did it unto me. Just to say, when you help the worst off, you're doing it for Jesus. That's what Jesus said. I cannot believe that people that call themselves Christians are raising those signs. This is what they should be doing. And it's not just that. It's not that these people we're giving them that much food. They're the ones that are giving us food. They're the ones that are working in our farms to put food on our tables. As we say in our prayers, thank you, Jesus, for this food. Everybody get this?
You made this?
No, this is a very famous meme. No, I didn't make this. This is a very famous meme. Who's this guy, by the way? What's this guy's name down here? Oh, you guys don't get it. What does de nada mean? You're welcome or no problem. So here we have this family saying, thanks, Jesus, for this food. And this guy's saying, you're welcome. What's his name? Jesus, thank you. Yes, it's a play on the fact that in Hispanic names, they do often name their children Jesus. That guy's name is Jesus. It sometimes sounds a little weird to us to see somebody named Jesus or Jesus, but if you think about it, the name Christopher, yes, we are, for the sake of a joke. My goodness, yes. Finally, also people are our Vance was telling us the immigrants are overrunning the country. They're overrunning my school. They're overrunning my houses. They're everywhere. I wish a few more of them were overrunning my school. We had to close one of our schools. So we didn't have enough people in it. You might remember that. Yeah, made you go to a different school. If we would have had more immigrants, maybe we would have been able to hope for that school. By the way, which group of Americans can legit say these damn immigrants are overrunning the country? Yeah, the Native Americans, the indigenous people can seriously say that a bunch of immigrants have overrun the country. That is true. The rest of the people, we got no business talking about immigrants Again, I cannot believe that we've gone from the idea that we are a nation of immigrants to wherever we are now. So at the end of this chapter, Guest tells us that we should be thinking like an anthropologist. Who is an American? Where he says you should be better prepared with the anthropological tools you need to understand the ways in which ethnicity and nationalism work in your life. And I hope that's true. I hope we've understood a little bit better the tools of ethnicity and nationalism. But I want to kind of expand or change that a little bit. Oftentimes, when we use the terms ethnicity and nationalism, we have to realize that you're probably about to blow somebody up. I mean, these have become fighting terms. And so there's some good tools in your anthropological toolkit, but every so often you got to go in there and figure out that, man, I got a grenade in here. I better clip the wires or diffuse this thing before it blows up in my hand or somebody else's face. So watch out there.